Hi friends, welcome. Earlier today I had a lovely conversation with good friend, YouTube creator, freelancer, Robbie Campbell. I've had him on this channel in the past in physical form. He used to live here in Salt Lake City where I reside. He recently made the big move, however, though. Across land and sea to Germany. Ah yes, the great jungles of Europe. Special thanks to the lizard people for creating the internet and Skype. We were able to have a lovely conversation about his recent move, the struggles of moving as a creator, when you should move as a creator, when you should maybe not move as a creator. He had a lot of lovely thoughts to share. It was a great conversation. I enjoyed it. Feel free to check out Robbie's YouTube channel. I'll link below. He is a very talented fellow. He has a great style of shooting and editing, and he has a very calm personality, very serene. It makes you feel like anything's possible. Also, the entire conversation will be available on my podcast, link to that below as well. Enjoy. Hi, Robbie.
How's it going?
Oh, just having a good time. I have my iced coffee, and that's what matters. You have moved to Germany recently.
Yes.
And after being here for a good while, how many years were you here?
I think close to 7. I moved there in 2012, so like 6 or 7 years.
Okay. And so you lived in Germany before this, correct?
Yeah, so my dad was in the Army, and we got stationed over here when I was going into my junior year of high school. We were in Hohenfels, which is like the southern part of Germany, and we were there for 2 years. That's where I met my girlfriend. And then it was time to go to college when we graduated. I graduated here in Germany, and I had no ties to anywhere because I had moved pretty much every 2 years of my life growing up. And so my girlfriend was going to Utah, and I was like, I'll go to Utah, why not?
Yeah. What made you decide that it was time to go back to Germany?
We came to Utah. We were there for about 5 years, and my girlfriend went back to Germany. I went with her, and she went back for a study abroad, and we were here for like 6 months. And I had already missed Germany after leaving there when we were in high school. We came back. We got a little teaser again for another 6 months, and I just felt like I had a lot of unfinished business in this country. I love it here. I love the culture, the language.
Mafia, debts to pay.
Yes, lots of people to take care of, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, animals to return, that sort of thing.
Yeah. I love Europe, and 2 years and 6 months was definitely not enough time for me. So we told ourselves whenever we had enough money to go, we would just pull the trigger, go, and figure it out when we got there.
The great motherland of Germany was calling you home.
Yes.
Okay, all right. When you were thinking about moving back, was there anticipation for you, or was it like, let's do this, I'm ready, I'm not worried about the moving process? What sort of anxiety filled your brain while you were going through that process? The
process of moving for me isn't that stressful anymore. Like I said, my dad was in the Army, so I think I moved 13 times total as a kid. But with that said, as a kid, my parents always had everything taken care of, so I was just kind of along for the ride. Yeah. But this time, everything was on me. Like I had to pay to move everything over there, and I had to, organize and figure out all the logistics of that. We're going over here with a set amount of money, and we don't necessarily know what we're doing for work immediately. While I like to say it didn't bother me too much and sound like, this real hard dude who's like, yeah, I can move to Europe. It's not a big deal. There was a lot of anxiety around it. I mean, the month before the move where you're doing all the prep work was just constant anxiousness. Yeah. What you do for a living is freelance work for the most part. Right. And a lot of that is location oriented. It does depend on where you are. I mean, depending on what kind of freelance work you do. This can be problematic when you're moving from Salt Lake City to Germany, I would assume. So yes. What have been some of the struggles for you in making that step? Was there any, did it inhibit you from wanting to take the step of moving back? Yeah, that was actually the biggest point of hesitation for me. I had spent 4 or 5 years doing freelance photography, video, and design stuff on the side for people in Utah. And I had built up a network. And then after those 5 years, I went full time, and I had built up a network for a year. And so I had really strong ties there. It wasn't like really deep roots, but I was building a network and I had something I could rely on. And I was finally like doing what I had set out to do when I left high school. I wanted to work for myself. I wanted to be a photographer and make my own schedule and work when I wanted to and whatever. And I had finally done that. And I was only about a year into it at that point. And so pulling the trigger and say, well, let's go to Germany and restart everything was so worrisome. But at the same time, knowing that I had built that network was very fulfilling to know that I had done that. But also I knew the longer I'd stay, the bigger and deeper my roots were going to be there. And I knew, in 4 or 5 years time, if I had kept doing what I was doing, it would be twice as hard to move. So, I figured I did this, I proved that I could do it. I'm sure I could do it somewhere else. And, like I said, in a few years, it's going to be even harder to move. So I might as well just do it now.
Yeah. So what do you think is the value of relocating for a creator? Because I think a lot of creative types have the urge to move to a different place if they're in a place that they're not satisfied with. When is that a good idea, and when is it like maybe you moving to a different place is not the way that you solve this problem? Maybe you just bring your problems with you to the new place. It's a good thing to think about. Yeah. When does one happen versus the other in your mind?
It's an interesting thing to think about because, when we had been here for the 6 months previously, as soon as we came back to the States, I was like, I want to go back. I had all these problems. I didn't have any money. I was like depressed. I just wanted to run away from everything. And that was the time I'm like, I want to go. I need to go to Germany. And I wanted to run away from everything. And a lot of people want to do that. But the second time around, and I'll get a little bit more into the as a creator after this point, is I had, in the 2 years since we had come back from that 6-month stint in Germany, I had become happy with myself and happy with what I had built. And I had really, really close friends, and I had come to love Salt Lake in a way that I hadn't before. And so moving kind of proved to me in a way that, I was ready for it, and it's always going to be there for me. And having that appreciation and leaving with that appreciation is going to be better in the long run than just running away from something. I kind of felt like I left Salt Lake and closed the chapter. It wasn't, leaving an open wound.
For me, at least, and I think for you, maybe it's probably different, but for me, I spent the first 18 years of my life in the same house. Yeah. So shifting around, and especially leaving family, for me is an emotionally traumatic experience, to say the least. There's a lot there. It's very weighty and difficult. It grew a lot of boldness in me, I think, to go through that process. So I learned a lot from it, but I think it's important when you are deciding that you're going to shift your location, or when you're thinking about if I should shift my location and how hard that might be, that you really try to almost write a list in front of you of the things that you need to make sure to take care of before you move along, because you will leave feeling a little bit weird about everything if you're not diligent about that, I think. Did you struggle with any of that, or did this last time around, or did you square everything away?
I don't think that feeling's ever going to go away, no matter how many times you move, that you're always going to feel like you need to do something before you leave. You need to have that one last coffee. You need to have, you need to go to that place one more time. Mm-hmm. You need to walk through your house or take a picture of that bedroom once more before you leave or whatever. Those feelings have never gone away from me. Like I said, I've moved 13 times, and every single time I was like, oh, I need to go get coffee with this person, or I need to go say goodbye to this person. I need to go hang out with them one more time. Leaving on good terms, being in a positive space, and leaving on that is always better than, trying to leave by running away from your problems. While running away and moving can definitely solve your problems, it's always better if you go in a better state of mind, in my opinion. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. It's
almost like you have to manage your peace in the entire process of moving.
Yes.
That you have to make sure that you have to be very aware of what your body's telling you, what your mind is telling you about what's happening.
Yeah.
Because I think a lot of people, especially younger people, they may feel that, especially if they're in a situation, a household that's sort of toxic, and they're a creator, and they have they're very ambitious. They have high expectations for themselves.
Yeah.
They may feel like they need to perhaps get as far away from that situation as possible physically, because I think that's what people try to do. They think they need to make this enormous uprooting shift in their life, go to a new place, and then everything will start to align. And the hard part is there is actually validity to that, to going on an
adventure. There's truth in that, for sure, definitely.
Yeah. But it's like, when
you just need to be careful with it.
Right. And when is it? Maybe that's not entirely the answer. Maybe that's part of the answer. Maybe that's the answer a year from now, right?
Yeah.
Maybe there are other things that you need to focus on. Make sure you're not deceiving yourself, I suppose. Do you think that? What would you say to somebody who feels like they need to move to feel fulfilled?
If you do feel like you need to move to be fulfilled, you should definitely look into trying to do it. But I think when you're doing that, you need to think about like you said, it's part of the solution. It's not the solution, because I can say, screw it, I hate where I'm at, I'm moving to Germany because everything is cooler there. Well, you don't really speak the language fluently yet.
They have pumpkin festivals.
You don't know what you're going to do for work. You don't know how you're going to get work. You don't know anyone there. You need to, I feel like it almost feels obvious, but I guess it's not sometimes to some people, is like, you just, sure, move, but remember that's only part of the solution. I think you said it brilliantly. It's just part of the solution. It's not the whole solution.
I guess it's like really being connected to your own mind and sort of meditating on what you actually need, and being able to get yourself momentarily out of the feeling of stuckness that creates that urge in you. Because I think what it is you get surrounded by your circumstances, and you feel like you have to get on a plane and go away from
them. Yeah. Comfort can be a dangerous thing sometimes. I was very comfortable in Salt Lake. I was making decent money. I was doing what I wanted. I had my friends surrounding me. I had the places that I went to go get my coffee. I had the grocery store, and I knew all the aisles, and I became very like, this is just where I am. And when you go outside of that after being somewhere for a long time, it is like, it's awe-inspiring to see how different things run. And so when you see that, or you have a friend come back from somewhere that had moved and they tell you about all these crazy stories, you're like, oh my God, there's a whole other world out there. It's sometimes moving just has to happen.
I think you make a good point. It goes both ways. You can live in your comfort zone, and you won't even realize that you're sabotaging your ability to thrive because you're so comfortable. I think I lean more towards that. My wife is the person in our relationship that is like, hey, we have to go to Europe next year. Like we have to go to Australia. And I'm like, I'm just trying to like sit down every day, have a good routine. I'm comfortable. And she'll say it, and I have a little mini panic attack, but then I'm like, okay, you know what? This is good. She's here to help me.
It's the other way around in my relationships.
Okay.
I'm your wife in this scenario. I'm the one who's like, oh, we got to go do this. But I think it's perfect to have a relationship like that, because we balance each other out. If it's two people all that are like, oh, we need to go all the time, that could probably be catastrophic at some point.
No, there is a high probability that I would still be in my hometown if my wife did not push me. And that's a big deal, because I absolutely love it here. I mean, you lived here, you know how you know how amazing it is here, and how it's just such an interesting place for creating stuff.
It is. It's really cool.
It really feels like a playground. I feel like I'm going out into a playground every day. And I think it's also important to know that no matter what you do, there's not really a wrong path. It's sort of like you're flying a plane and you feel like you get off course and you have to recorrect it, and then you go, this isn't right, I need to go over here. We think it's like, now you can get in situations where you go into tremendous debt and screw yourself over.
Oh yeah.
But it's not like right, you're not going to kill yourself from doing that. You just have to continue to learn from those experiences and push forward.
It's I think a good way to sum up a lot of what we've been talking about is balance in everything.
It's all
Good
balance.
I think, is how to go about life.
Yeah.
Good balance.
So since you just moved to Germany, feel free to incorporate ideas from your recent move to Germany, but I want to actually talk about when you moved to Salt Lake and you were trying to build a foundation for yourself in freelance work. What would you say to somebody who's trying to begin the journey of doing more freelance work and getting out of their day job type thing?
Right.
What's a good way to build that foundation? Or what things did you learn about building that foundation, I guess I should say?
I think it's how you approach it. I think, especially with the way I did it, and I see this a lot, is people kind of come in and assume that they deserve something. In a certain extent, everyone should be heard, but you should go about it in a way where you want to listen more than talk. If you make the person that you want something from feel like they're being appreciated, you're more likely to get something out of them. And that sounds kind of manipulative, but if you go into it genuinely wanting to learn from someone, your chances of going somewhere will be a lot better and it'll happen a lot faster.
And is this in the hopes of meeting the needs of the person that you're trying to work with?
Potentially, or, just leaving a good impression on that person. So going forward, they can, lead you to someone else, or they'll think of you 5 months down the road when they have a project come up, they're like, oh, I'm starting this company and I need photos, but I do know a photographer, that guy that wanted to get coffee with me.
Right. And that guy bought my coffee, which,
yes,
that's a good way to get them to remember you.
Yes, always buy their coffee.
Right. I'm sorry if I didn't buy your coffee. Maybe I just didn't have the funding.
I don't think you did. It's all right.
I'm so sorry. I'll send you coffee one day.
Okay, I'm looking forward to it. So the way I'm going about everything that I'm doing here now is I'm going about it in a way where I'm just trying to learn from everyone. Obviously, I have experience in the field. I've done dozens of photography projects. I have the work to show for it. But I'm the new guy in town. I'm the new guy in the country. And so everyone that I talk to, I'm just phrasing it like, hey, I'd love to talk. I'm trying to learn from as many people as I can on how things work over here. And I think that sets up the conversation much better. It doesn't sound like, hey, I was a freelance photographer in the States and I'm coming over here and I want to start it. So can we talk so I can maybe get something out of you? Yeah. You just got to phrase it the right way and go about it in a way where it's less about you and more about the people you're talking to. And I think that just sets everything off at a better start.
It's a language in its own, the way that you interact with people to try to create those types of relationships.
It is, yeah.
And it's a patient language as well.
Yep.
But I think it has to be focused on bringing more value to them in that conversation than they bring to you. Like, you have to really try to pay attention to what it is they need, not only from like a business perspective, but if you're going to meet them for coffee the first time and it has nothing to do directly with you doing some sort of business with them, that it's a good idea to maybe learn a bit about them before you go there, and then say, exactly. Hey, I heard about this project you're working on. I think that's interesting. Tell me about it. Don't ask them if you could be a part of it at all.
Exactly.
Just say, hey, oh, that's interesting. Be a good human.
Yes. Yeah. Just set up all your meetings. Like when I was first starting out, I'd set up these meetings like, oh, I'm going for a business meeting in hopes to getting business out of this. And 9 times out of 10, I came out of that with nothing. I never heard from that person again. But when I started changing that and just being like, this person is really cool. I like what they do. Yes, I'd love to work with them and do work for them, but I just want to go hang out with them, talk to them, get to know them. Like the last meeting I had, we went and got a coffee and we just walked around the city and talked for like 45 minutes. And like 20% of that was business related in terms of what we both do. But I've already kept in contact with the guy. We've written each other back and forth, and there's work probably coming out of it. So,
well, and 2 things. One, in that 45-minute conversation, on minute 38, there could sometimes be this little random thing that pops up where you could take advantage of that. But also the fact that you spent 45 minutes with him and didn't ask for anything from this person means that you have sort of built yourself a more prominent representation in his life
Right.
versus the other 5,000 people who want to do video or photo work with
Exactly.
them. And that's a big
You're
deal.
someone interested in that person.
Right.
Yeah.
With that, I think we've covered all of the areas of moving. At least we've dusted off the top of the books.
Oh yeah, it's an endless conversation.
Of course. We've gently pushed away the dust, and we've created some clarity, shined a light, and I think this is a good place to wrap this conversation up.
Cool.
And Osfart this conversation.
I'll start this conversation. Good one.
Okay. Well, hey, thanks, Robbie.
Thank you.
Thanks for hanging out. I hope to do this soon because I miss you.
Miss you more?
Okay. We're gonna go cry. Okay, that's it for this one. I hope you found it valuable. I really enjoyed that conversation with him. Like I said, feel free to check him out. He's a very talented fellow. I hope you have a lovely day. Feel free to share your thoughts below and maybe a move that you've endured. Okay, bye.